Hi everyone, it's Kathleen. I've got a little tutorial today and it is for a tea bag holder. This one is using the Sale-A-Bration papers, and the one I'm going to make just now is using the Brights DSP, and I'm using the Melon Mambo papers. Okay, my version of this tea bag holder has 5 envelopes. I've made 3, so I'll make 2 on camera. These pieces, so you'll need 5 pieces of paper which measure 5.5 by 4, and you will score at 2.5. Five, turn it round and score at 3.5, and that's that one. So again, 5.5 by 4, put it in long side at the top, score at 2.5. 5, turn it round and score at 3.5. Okay, now we want to take away, you'll probably not be able to see this, there's a little box there and then the long rectangle. We want to remove these 2 pieces. So just with scissors, trim that away. And the same on the other one. So just the, oh, that side's too patterned. Small box in here, and then the long rectangle there. Okay, and then what we want to do, this is going to be the flap that attaches the envelope together. So we just want to taper the ends of this to make it neat. And the same on the other one. And then fold in the flap first on both pieces. When you're doing all 5 envelopes, I would do a sort of conveyor belt. So I'd cut all the pieces, score them all, trim them all, taper all the edges, and then do the folding. Now when you're folding this one over, we don't want to see this back edge at all, so just fold it over so that this folded edge is just covering the edge of the paper. Okay, so we don't want to see that back edge at all, so we don't want it to be like that, we want it to cover it completely. And the same with this one. So fold it over. The fold line's there already, but we just want to make sure there's not going to be any overhang on that piece. Now what to do, you can do this if you want. I rounded the corners on this and I use my envelope punch board corner rounder. Okay. That's that. And then we just want to glue these down, and I glue the flaps. Okay, let's just some snail. So you will have a little envelope that opens all the way through, okay, and there's a reason for that. So to attach these to the, just fold over those little flaps at the top. In fact, I'll do the flower. I've got little flowers here that are just holding that closed. That just slots in behind there. Okay. So I'll do those first, and that will give the glue time to dry. So this is the itty bitty punch pack, the little flower, and some scrap black. 1, 2, and some Melon Mambo from the Brights pack. I managed to lock my punch as I punched it there. Okay, so I'm going to use fuse on this. Just on 2 petals. And I'm going to raise these up, just round them slightly. Okay, so I'll pop these on. Just fold the flap over. You don't want it too high because you want to be able to get into it without bending the flower too much, and then just as near the centre as possible. So this will come out from under there, and then to get it back you just pull that little flower forward. So a little bit of fuse on the back of these. Probably too much. Lift up the petals, and the same with the other one. So just into the centre, left to right, not too far up over the flap, and then this one onto the back. And lift those just on the top one, just to give it a bit of height. Okay, so that's those done. Now the envelopes are attached on a binding mechanism, which is normally used in mini albums. This is a mini album. This is just a quick. This is a mini album that I made, and the way that you attach your pages is using the binding system, and it's basically a concertina of paper with a little gap in between. Now the version that I'm doing is actually by a lady called Kathy Orta, and if you go to her blog and look up the hidden hinge binding system, then that's where this is from. It's not me that's made this up. Okay, now this piece of paper measures 7 3/8 by 6. Okay, and the way that you score it makes your hinge system. So to start with, I only want to score, you're scoring 1/2 inch and 1/4 inches. So because I'm using my Stampin' trim, I find it easier to start on this side. So I'm going to start by scoring at 1/2 inch. And then another 1/2 inch, and then once I've done this one, I'll turn the paper around and start going along the other measurement side. Okay, so I've done a 1/2 inch, another 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to do a 1/4. And that's the way that it goes along. It's kind of like a wee mantra: 1/2 inch, half, half, 1/4, half, half, 1/4. And then another 1/2. You want to try and make sure it's straight as well. 1/2, 1/4. And we do that all the way along to the end. 1/2. 1/2. 1/4. 1/2. 1/2. 1/4. And you should end up with 2 halves at the end. 1/2. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I've done one wrong. Right, I've put a 1/4 inch in where there shouldn't be one. I could see that straight away by what I had left. So 1/2, half, 1/4, 1/2, half, 1/4, 1/2, half, 1/4, 1/2, half. So this one should be a, just find the score line. This should be a 1/4. And then a 1/2. Okay, so that's that. See it better on this side. 1/2, half, 1/4, 1/2, half, 1/4, 1/2, half, 1/4, 1/2, half, 1/4, 1/2, half. And the 1/2 inch spaces will be what your envelope's attached to, and the 1/4 inches are the gaps in between. Okay. So we just fold those. The 1/2 inch will mount and fold, and the 1/4 inch will valley fold. And when you're folding it all together, just make sure your edges are even so that you don't get a wandering binding. Okay. This paper is double-sided, so you've got 4 different patterns on it. And on this, it's too dark and too light. So quite a good choice. Okay, nearly finished. 1/2. And the last 1/2. So you have something that looks like that. Now what we want to do is glue the first 1/2, miss 2, and then glue the next 1/2, miss 2, and glue the next 1/2. So just with snail, miss 2 and end into the 1/2 inch. Miss 2 and then into the 1/2 inch again. Miss 2 into the 1/2 inch. Miss 2 and then into the last 1/2 inch. And then you'll just fold all of those. It's all the 1/2 inch sections that you're folding onto each other that you've just put the glue on. Oh, jings. Okay, so this is what you end up with. And you should have 5 hinges. Okay, now I'm just going to trim. There's a wee bit, I don't know if you can see that there, there's a wee edge there, so I'm just going to get rid of that. Just using my knife. Just lightly go across that with your knife. Get rid of that wee slither. Okay, so that's our hinge, and we'll just lightly burnish that. Burnish over each hinge where you've put the adhesive. That'll make sure it's got a good stick. Okay, so that's the hinge done. So next we need our little cover. So this is A4, and this piece measures 11.5 by 2 3/4, and you can actually get 3 of these from an A4 piece of paper. So I've trimmed this already. No, I've not. Right, so we'll trim it down to 11.5. And then we want to score it on the following measurements. It's 3 3/4, then 5 1/4, nine, and 10. Okay, so this is what you've just made. So this is the front, this is the base, this goes up the back, this is the top, and this is the flap that comes round. So on the flap that comes round you can do a decorative edge. I'm going to use the scallop tag topper, and this is too wide to fit in it, but all you need to do is push the card in and making sure it's even at each side. Try and get that on camera. I needed to press it against myself so that... Okay, and then just a punch and you'll get that. And then what we'll do is trim these little edges off. Okay, and we're left with that. So then we just want to fold along the score lines, keeping everything lined up. Okay, and I'm just going to lightly go over those with my bone folder. Okay, so now what we want to do is put our binding in. Okay. So this area here is what we want to stick. We don't want to stick any of the hinges down. So it works out that there's a 1/4 inch around all of the sides, and we want to get it in the middle, even either side and front to back. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put fuse on this. Just cover the whole area. Oh. Just before I started filming, I dropped the fuse and everything came off. Front came off the back, the inside went flying, and I never checked it to make sure it was working okay after I put it back together. So don't throw your fuse about. Right, so we want to get it, you're not going to be able to see, oh yeah, the score lines. So it's a 1/4 inch all the way around basically. So it doesn't, try and get it even, but it doesn't need to be millimetre precise. Give that a good press down. And just go over each really unattractive word, but it's what everyone uses, and everyone that does mini albums and uses this system knows what it is. We call these the gussets. I know, lovely word. And we just want to make sure that it's well stuck. I don't think there's any words that are nice. Some people refer to them as gutters. That's just as bad. Give it a good burnish with. There we go. Okay. So one by one we will attach the envelopes to that binding, and all it does, just open up your envelope like that and slot it over the top of. Right, now I had measured this so it didn't need to be trimmed, but I must have been a bit generous there. The little envelopes should be 2.5 wide, and yeah, I measured the binding to 2 3/8. That is right, that must just be tight, that one. Oh no, that's it now. Right, so basically it just slots onto the flap, and you push it down. Okay, so what we're going to do is apply adhesive and then put the envelope on. So just across the back. Now you will just let me get a piece off so it doesn't stick. You don't want it to stick, that's just the back of some foam pads. You don't want it to stick down on your card while you're putting the glue on. Okay, so starting with, I do it from front to back. Just push that down. Make sure it's central. And keeping it straight along the edges. And then just press that down. Okay, and then on to the next one. Again, to get the other side, don't want that to stick to the card. So the next one, this pattern paper, will be making your eyes go bonkers. Over the hinge, pushed right down, make sure it's centred side to side, and in line with the one below, and just press that on. Okay, so again, just open your envelope, push that onto the hinge, making sure it's even side to side and in line with the one underneath it, and adhere. Nearly finished. first one. Push it down, centre it side to side and press that down. So there we have all the little envelopes in there, secured. And then the front piece I've already cut two, and this is 2 7/8 by 2.5, and this little tiny dinky piece is for this part here, and that is 3/8 by 2.5. And I line it up towards the bottom, making sure the spacing is even along the bottom and the two sides. And the same with this wee tiny piece. Make sure the paper's the same way up. Okay. Now to keep this closed, on the Sale-A-Bration one I used one of the buttons that come in the accessory pack, and I just stitched it on and then covered it with a 1-inch punched circle. But with this one I'm going to use a brad. So just line everything up and make sure that's closed tight. I've just coloured a brad black just with a Sharpie pen. And then all we're going to do is pop a hole in. I'm doing it towards the top so that it keeps it nice and tight. Watch your fingers when you're doing this. Pop that through there. Okay. And that'll keep it closed. So pop that through. Open the legs at the back. And I'll just get a little punch circle. Put some fuse on it. And cover that over. Nice and neat. And then finally, and wait until you see these, because some will start screaming out colours here. Melon Mambo. Pink Pirouette.